Holocaust Trivialization. Have you seen or heard current events be compared to the Holocaust on your social media feeds or in conversations with friends or colleagues? Across the globe, we're witnessing a rising phenomenon of Holocaust trivialization, where it has become acceptable to liken any current event or political idea you disagree with to the industrial-scale mass murder of 6 million Jews by Nazi Germany and its allies. In the last 6 months alone, the Combat Antisemitism Movement Information Hub has tracked more than 120 public manifestations of Holocaust trivialization worldwide, and these are just the ones reported in the media. According to the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, or IHRA, Holocaust trivialization is an emerging form of contemporary anti-Semitism. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic and related government-implemented public health measures, Holocaust trivialization has become mainstream among many politicians, grassroots movements, in the media, online, and elsewhere. In virtually every Western democracy, protest movements have emerged with individuals donning the Judensterns, the yellow stars the Nazis forced Jews to wear, or concentration camp uniforms, appropriating these symbols as a badge of honor for perceived or alleged victimhood. We've seen this in the United States, Canada, the UK, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, Austria, Italy, Ukraine, Australia, and elsewhere. Often inflamed by politicians, Yellow Star protesters are marching in the streets of their cities and showing up at school board and city council meetings across the world. Some have given Nazi salutes and shouted "Hail Hitler." Others have appropriated the infamous sign that hung above the gate to the Auschwitz extermination camp, where more than 1 million Jewish men, women, and children were gassed, beaten, worked, and starved to death. Government leaders are being compared to the Nazi figures who designed and implemented the final solution. On primetime television, Chief Medical Advisor to the President of the United States, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, himself the son of Holocaust survivors, have even been compared to Nazi Dr. Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death, who performed inhumane experiments on Jewish children and led gas chamber selections. The Holocaust can't be compared. It is a distortion of history and a direct affront to the memory of the victims and dignity of survivors. The trivialization of Nazi Germany's crimes against humanity fuels Holocaust deniers who seek to downplay Nazi atrocities for nefarious purposes. And allowing it to flourish unchecked has created safe spaces for anti-Semitic conspiracies, outright Holocaust denial, and other extremist ideologies to spread. These comparisons have opened a gateway for the revival of age-old anti-Semitic conspiracies, including blaming Jews for the pandemic as purveyors of disease, and accusing Jews of a vast conspiracy for global control through mandates. Similarly, surrounding last year's conflict between Israel and Hamas, anti-Israel activists distorted the history of the Holocaust by comparing the joint Israeli-Egyptian defensive blockade of the Hamas-ruled Gaza Strip to Auschwitz, and Israeli Jews as a people to the Nazis. British opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer was even called a Zio-Nazi by critics, and US Congresswoman Lauren Boebert accused President Joe Biden of dispatching needle Nazis. At the 2021 UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, activists referred to climate change as the environmental Holocaust. As part of a fad on TikTok, teenagers shared clips of themselves pretending to be Holocaust victims for fun. While denouncing public health measures, an Italian politician referred to Holocaust survivor and Italian Senator Liliana Segre as the number tattooed on her arm instead of her name. Together, these trends have created a perfect storm, minimizing both Holocaust remembrance and Jewish concerns for safety during an already resurgent wave of global anti-Semitism. This phenomenon cuts across the ideological spectrum, from the right to the left to religious fundamentalists and everywhere in between. Remember that bit about Holocaust trivialization creating safe spaces for extremism? When Holocaust comparisons spiked during the Gaza violence, the Anti-Defamation League found more than 17,000 tweets which use variations of the phrase, "Hitler was right," in the course of just 1 week. From protests rife with Holocaust comparisons that swept France last summer, the Maquis movement quickly developed, publicly blaming Jews for causing and then profiting from the pandemic. At protests in Germany, where participants donned yellow stars that read "unvaccinated," outlawed neo-Nazi groups marched alongside them. We're witnessing regular everyday folks march alongside actual Nazis and those who celebrate the Holocaust and would commit another one. Everything you disagree with is not the Holocaust. The Holocaust can't be compared. Whether by politicians or your friends and neighbors, the exponential rise in Holocaust trivialization is rendering the significance of the Holocaust obsolete. If young people are taught that all these things are like the Holocaust, then maybe their conclusion will be the Holocaust wasn't so bad. Maybe the world will forget these lessons within living memory of the Holocaust, with the pain of the survivors still among us. When Jews and other minorities are threatened, societies as a whole are weakened. Agree or disagree with this or that policy, but please, elevate your debate and don't compare it to the Holocaust. Help ensure in our generation that the grim lessons of the Holocaust have been learned. Join us in standing against Holocaust trivialization and help halt the spread of hate. Use the hashtag #Can'tBeCompared.